Thanks everyone for joining. So maybe I'll just very brief intro. So my name is Nina. I'm running a coaching and consulting company called Align the Dots. My background is very operational, but in East Africa. So all of my career, I've been working in Tanzania and in Kenya mostly. And I moved to Sweden about nearly a year and a half ago because I'm Swedish, although I call myself a fake Swede because I've never lived here. I was born and lived all my life abroad. So I'm here to find out what makes me Swedish. And I wanted to use all the experiences and all the things that I've learned in the Swedish market in way of consulting and coaching. So today I will talk about turning your vision into a business. I will not be presenting any slides today, but I've prepared some and I'll share the link in the chat. It should be going through just so that you have it for your reference, or if you want to take notes so that you don't have to write things if that's your jam. But I'll just be going through them. And to start, I'd like to do a brief check-in. And if you have an idea and you want to start a business, I'd like you to press 1 on your keyboard. And if you're already running a business, I'd love for you to press 2. Okay, so you're writing in the chat, and that works too. Brilliant. Thank you. So there are 6 points I'd like to address today in this turning your vision into a business. And as the title of the workshop says, the first one is about vision. And I'll go even a little bit further and say what is really important to think about already in the early stages is the vision, the values, and your purpose of your business. And I mean, you can find all kinds of definitions of values, vision, and purpose if you just ask Google or DuckDuckGo. I want to share what resonates with me, and if what I'm sharing doesn't resonate with you, that's fine. You'll find your own. So how I define values is what you stand for, no matter what. So it tends to be certain words with definitions that are important for you, and it is the behaviors that you accept as part of your business and what you expect from you and from your team. Second is your vision, and I define it as the world you want to live in. So it's kind of this big, wide landscape that you see in front of you and where you want to go. And your purpose, I define it as your role in creating the world you want to live in. Because your vision, your world is so grand, you can't do it all on your own. But what you can do is a part of it. So your purpose is, what are you doing? What is your business doing to contribute to that vision? And the reason why I really encourage my clients to start reflecting on values, vision, and purpose is, first, it really acts like a filter. So when you have decisions to make, let's say you have to go left or to go right, thinking about what is most in line with your values and what contributes the most to your vision and your purpose, it usually makes that decision much, much clearer. So that's one. The second is that it allows you to be much more focused. It will prevent you from going after the shiny stuff. Let's say maybe it's opportunities that come your way, but do they really contribute to your vision and to your purpose? Same with maybe people who, want to pull you in a certain direction. They certainly have their own agenda, and being very clear on what does contribute most to your vision and your purpose. And finally, it acts kind of like a magnet in the sense that when, you behave and you communicate consistently, and you keep repeating that vision, and what is that grand vision, where are you going, and why are you doing what you're doing, you will quite naturally attract the kind of people who get it, right? You don't have to overly convince them. So those are the main reasons why I'd highly recommend to reflect around values, vision, and purpose. That was my first point. Second, what do you do and for whom? And I mean, think a bit about it like your elevator pitch. If you have like a concise, easy to grasp, and really memorable way of explaining what you do, what does your product or your service, like kind of what kind of problem does it solve? What needs does it satisfy? That will make it, I know it's hard work, especially at the beginning, but being able to zone in on a way of explaining what is it that you do in a very clear way will make it much easier for you to sell yourself, to sell your idea, to sell your product, your services. And the second part is to whom, right? And I mean, I've been there in the early stages. It's like you kind of want to be everything for everyone, but it's
the mute button is if you hover over your video.
Okay, I'll keep going. Thanks. Yeah, so once you've actually taken a bit of time to articulate clearly what is it that you do, who do you want to serve? And there are plenty of ways to segment your market. You have age, sex, behaviors, all those things, and that can be really hard. But what I do find helpful is actually to think of who do you not want to serve? Who do you definitely not want as your client? That can be really easier sometimes to be specific about who you want to serve. And what I found to be helpful is to think of personas. Maybe some of you have heard about it, where you literally imagine a person, you give that person a name, you imagine where they live, how they behave, what are their, I don't know, shopping habits, what kind of lifestyle do they have, so that then when you actually articulate your communication, your marketing material, and so on, you have these few personas in mind, and it will bring all of your communication much more live. So that's on kind of your target market. And I can't let you go of thinking of what is it that you do and who you want to serve without being honest about your assumptions, right? I mean, that's the part that where we call market validation. What is it that you really know? So, and what data, what information do you have that supports those facts? And what is it that you think you know, right? Every time you start a sentence with, I think that something, something, well, just check yourself. And, you're not going to necessarily have the answer to all of these assumptions. But what it does is that when you receive a data point or information from someone that challenges some of your assumptions, you will be much more open and much more willing to reconsider some of these assumptions. And in the early stages of a business, it is really critical to be strong in what you know and also be as strong in what you don't know. So what I'd really encourage you to do here is to actually take the time and make a bullet point list of all the assumptions that you may have. And then ask yourself, what is it that, how can you have this information or not, right? Who can you ask? It can be random people on LinkedIn. I've done that. It's worked pretty well. It can be family, it can be friends that may be more approachable. But, you know, trying to get some ideas on how can you validate or invalidate your assumptions, right? So that was my second point. What do you do for whom? Now, third point, your big, hairy, audacious goal. If you've ever heard of Jim Collins and what book was that? Built to Last, I believe. That's where he talks about the big, hairy, audacious goal, the BHAG. So that is where your passion for your business, and sorry, I'm hearing some voices that are not in my head. It's your big, hairy, audacious goal. It's actually a metric, a figure that represents both your passion, something you're really passionate about, something that you can be the best at, and also that, you know, provides you with the financial opportunity and the sustainability that you require and that you want for your business. And so to define that, set a time frame. It can be 10 years, it can be 20 years, whatever resonates with you, and pick a metric that both excites you and scares you a little bit. I think that part is important. It needs to, you know, to make you vibrate in a certain way and just like, oh, this is kind of scary. Yes, so obviously your BHAG, your big, hairy, audacious goal, is a number that is aligned with your vision. So once you have that, what do you need to do in the next 12 months? What is your 1-year plan? And here you get really practical, right? So this is a process I've implemented for my clients. I'm also doing it for myself, and it really enables me to be spot on and focused on what is it I need to achieve that will get me closer to my vision and to my purpose. So you set a date. I mean, now we are in December, so December 2022 would be perfect date. You do an estimate of your revenue and your profit for that year. You pick a measurable that demonstrate the size and the scope of your business. So let's say you're in retail consumer goods. I can say, I want to have 6 retail stores in all the countries I have employees in, right? That gives you a really tangible sense of where you're at. So pick a measurable and a number associated with it for that year. Then together with your team, it's easier with the people who support you in creating this business. Brainstorm at least 10 ideas, 10 bullet points of what you want to achieve this year. I mean, if you get it to 20, even better. And, you know, just even if they're crazy and all of that, just put them all, write all of them down. And then there's a tool I really love. It's called Keep, Kill, Combine. You literally go through each and every bullet point and really think and discuss with your team members, right? Do we really need to achieve this by the end of the year? Is this really that important? If yes, then you keep it. If you feel like, well, actually, this is a really cool idea, but it might not be a priority for this coming year, then leave it aside and kill it. And some you might be able to combine, right? So once you have your list, use the Keep, Kill, Combine tool to boil it down to, I would say, 3 and 7 goals, because you know, when everything is a priority, ultimately nothing is a priority anymore. So rather you have fewer priorities for that year, but actually you really make it happen and you focus all your energy on that. And a strong recommendation is, I'm assuming some of you have heard of SMART goals. So that means they are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. I actually, in the presentation I share with you, there's a link with all of that, but you can also just Google SMART goals, because articulating them in this way, you know, when in a year from now, you'll review all these goals, and you don't want to be in a position where you're arguing with your teammates and negotiating if you've achieved it or not. Like, it needs to be a clear-cut yes or no, have we done this? So that's for your one-year plan. Now, those one-year plans and those goals, you know, they're big, they're probably a little bit scary. You don't really know how you're going to get there today. And so that's why you develop quarterly goals, your 90 days priorities. And it's basically exactly the same process. And those priorities answers the question, what do you need to achieve in the next 90 days to be on track with your one-year plan, right? So again, you set the date. So now we would say it's 31st of March, 2022. You also establish your revenue and profit, if you get any, if you're lucky, for that quarter. You use the same measurable as the one-year plan, but you obviously update the figure for it. And then again, go through your one-year priorities and think of what are the things you need to do and to be completed in the next 90 days for you to be on track with those priorities. Have as many as possible, and then use the keep, kill, combine tool to boil it down to 3 to 7 priorities. If you're just a one-person business, well, then you're responsible for all of these priorities. But if you already have a team, or you plan to have a team throughout this process, well, then it needs to be very clear who is responsible and who has ownership of each of these goals. And again, design them in a SMART way, so specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. So to make it very easy at the end of the quarter to say, like, hey, this we did, this we didn't do, what do we need to do in the next 90 days? And now I'm coming to the last part, and that is your to-dos. Because again, from your one-year plan, you designed your 90-day goals, and they're probably still quite chunky, still a little bit scary. So what can you do, and what do you need to do in the next 7 days, right? For me, that's the definition of a to-do. It's something that can be done in the next 7 days. And here, I'll admit, I'm a complete organized nerd. Like, my life is completely governed by my to-do list and my calendar. If I didn't have those tools in my life, I'd be a mess. And so I really recommend you to, you know, to find a way to keep track of your to-dos. Like, it can be a to-do app, that's what I'm using, or it can be in your calendar or in a specific notebook where you write them down. Whatever it is, find what works for you and be consistent in using it. And here I also want to remind you to be kind to yourself. I mean, if you complete 100% of the to-dos you've set yourself, amazing. But if you've completed half of them or 80% of them, you know what? That is great too. Because one, we're not superhumans. And two, even though we've made and laid out a perfectly organized plan, well, life happens, and it's very unlikely that things will go exactly as planned. So, you know, have that wiggle room for you to, you know, not push yourself too hard either. Starting a business is hard enough as it is. But the more organized and consistent you are in these stages and focused, right? I mean, that's why you start from your values, your vision, and your purpose. That's like massive, big picture. And then slowly, you boil it down so that you get the confidence that everything you do on a weekly basis actually contributes to your vision and to your purpose, that bring you closer to it. So that's kind of what I want to, the note I want to finish on. So the 6 areas I wanted to tackle today in turning your vision into a business, which have really helped me in the various ventures I've been involved in. It's values, vision, and purpose. It's being clear on what you do for whom. It's your big, hairy, audacious goal. It's your 1-year plan. It's your 90-day goals, and it's your to-dos. If you want to go much deeper into that, I've actually developed a self-paced online program. It's on my website. I'll share the link right now. That is called Turning Your Vision into Execution. So here's the link if you want to check it out. And now we have about up to 15 minutes for questions. If it's something that you want to share, reflections that you have, or questions you have, please type in the chat and make sure that you, in the 2, it says everyone, because by default it's nearby, but then if you're a bit too far, I will not be able to hear you. So make sure you click on everyone, or at least to see it, sorry. And then just type your question there. Seems very quiet. Moa, do you have any questions?
No, not that I can think of right now. But I want to thank you for an amazing talk. It was very interesting.
Thank you. Yeah, I felt in 20 minutes it was quite ambitious to tackle all the way, vision to reality, but hopefully it gave all of you some food for thought and maybe some perspectives or aspects that you hadn't necessarily thought about so far.
For sure.
Great. Well, if there are no more questions, I will love you and leave you and go back to my role of speaker chaser. I'm also staff for Upstart this year, which is fun. So I wish you all an amazing conference. Enjoy all the talks, and I'll get to hang out with you once most of the talks are done.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Moa. Bye.